They look right through me. La 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 la. You bashful boy, you're hiding something sweet. Please give it to me. Yeah.
Welcome, everyone from unceded, occupied, or lonely land where we're standing shoulder to shoulder with those fighting to free the land. Before we jump into tonight's episode, which is episode 8, Upsurge Evolving the Unit, I'd like to introduce the people, the movers and shakers who make it all happen. First, I'd like to introduce the Gansa Maven, stage manager, Zoom manager, the great Sarah Gasser.
Yay, Sarah.
And to my left, my left-hand lady, the Sixers of Laurenburg, the editor extraordinaire, producer, Ziggy Lowenberg.
Hello there. And to my right, the vision behind this intimate evening with the town crier. I just thanked him this morning for coming up with this amazing idea to keep us very engaged in our work during this period and also having a chance to really reflect. And it brings a lot of interest and back to us as well, and deepening of what we did and the gifts that other people with us, as you'll hear more tonight, shared with us. So the vision behind the project of the Town Crier, the founder of Upsurge, and our co-host Raymond Nat Turner.
And just a footnote, I'd like to say that working with these two has really been a joy for me, a treat, because they're so incredibly creative, and it's just been a lot of fun. Would you indulge me using the B word to describe them? B as in brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So I just wanted to say that.
Raymond has a piece to share with us.
Yeah. During the pandemic, each of these episodes, we've had something going on. One episode was on mentors, and one of my mentors checked out that weekend. So we had to switch gears. Then I think the last episode, Lawrence Farrell Getty checked out, and then one of my teachers was also joining the Ancestors. So we changed our program according to that. But this particular time, the anti-Asian attacks that are going on, I wrote a piece and it's kind of tribute to our daughter-in-law. It's called Shinobu, Is This What Solidarity Looks Like? And it also reflects on an experience I had in Oakland. And for those of you who don't know who Yuri Kochiyama was, she was an Asian American activist, Japanese American activist who was very active in Harlem during the civil rights Black Power movement. And she was friends of Malcolm X and actually a member of his organization. And she was there when he was assassinated on February 21st of 1965. And then she came out here in Oakland subsequently and mentored a lot of Asian American activists and African American young political activists out here. So anyway, Shinobu, is that what solidarity looks like? Now, I wasn't Yuri Kochiyama amidst toppled chairs, gunsmoke-scented chaos, cradling Malcolm's heavy head, on the Audubon ballroom floor as his double-aught buckshot pocked chest oozed ruby rivulets. I arrived at the Asian elder split second after the unmusical thud of his head hitting concrete, after he'd missed the curb, stumbled, and fallen on 14th Broadway. I didn't worry whether or not scarlet streaming from his temple was HIV or Hep C tainted. I didn't worry whether or not some right turn making out of control driver would wipe us out. I didn't worry about an out of the blue lawsuit. I didn't worry about Blue Klux Klansmen seeing me, seeing blood, seeing me, seeing blood, seeing me kneeling beside the Asian elder. My magic gun, seeing me rifling his pockets, robbing him. I worried about napkins and Band-Aids in my backpack being sterile or not sterile. I worried about speaking softly as I staunched crimson streaming from his temple. I worried about being in over my head. And just then I spotted an EMT and asked an onlooker to flag them down. He did. And they came, they saw, praising preliminary work and taking over. No sirens, no flashing red, white, blue, and yellow party lights, no yellow tape theater, no surly sauntering for overtime, no gruff barking, no disrespect, no baton blows, no frame up, no dead Samaritan, no violence workers. I could breathe and leave high.
Wow.
Yes, Grandma. Yes.
Barako ako yemaya, barako ako olomi, barako ako yemaya, barako ako olomi.
Pull up my anchor. Dislodge me from my dock. Cast me deep. McCoy at the helm. Scott in the boiler room. Sharp plucking rudder base under this mothership. Strumming soul stories of swingin' rhythm. Master chefs cooking in the galley, fueling transcendence. Harper on tenor, short wave, signaling spirits, channeling train. Elephantine cries over Scottish, rolling thunder, clap crescendo. Henderson on trumpet, reveries mirroring miles of muted messages submerged. Float to the top, fathoming ocean floors, dolphins' vibratory calls. Barks barking orders, hoarse alto cry, growling to his mates. All hands on deck!
All hands on deck!
All hands on deck! It's McCoy's ship now.
Oh, that's a selection from our debut CD, All Hands on Deck. And gosh, whew.
I just want to say there is a picture in there, and we happen to have, I believe Joe Sam is here as well. The artist who did the cover art that we were able to use for our, both of our CDs, Mr. Joe Sam. So thank you, Joe. And there was a picture of he with his artwork, and we're very blessed to become deep friends. We also have someone else.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some of the photos that you saw flashing by really quickly were from someone we have the pleasure of working with over the years. We've been blessed to have many wonderful photographers over the years, and none as much. James Radke is one of the ones that we are deeply indebted to for, we call it our classic photo, our classic upsurge photo that we use many, many times. And so James Radke is formerly located in the San Francisco Bay Area. He's now in Springfield, Missouri. And let me just see if I can share something. His photos have been exhibited in Medellin, Colombia, in Mannheim, Germany, to Tokyo. And in 2019, he had an installation, The Gulf War as Viewed from an Apartment, or from apartment at the Southeast Museum of Photography in Daytona Beach, Florida. And he was the photographer for our debut CD session, All Hands on Deck, in 1999. And his photos have appeared in LA Reader, Bay Guardian, San Francisco Chronicle, Tokyo Times, Jazz Now, Jazz Times, et cetera, Scientific American. Without further ado, I give to you from Springfield, Missouri, James Radke.
Hi, James.
Hi, guys.
Welcome, welcome. So one thing we were talking about, Raymond and I were talking about this episode and having you, and we knew that it was going to be focused on All Hands on Deck, and we were recalling, you know, we had already had worked with you, and on several of our events you were there. But one of the things when we came up with the title All Hands on Deck, we didn't quite have all the pieces for the graphics done yet, or the liner notes and all of that. But we were going in the studio, and we had the title because it was the name of one of the track we just listened to, a poem that I wrote, All Hands on Deck, based on McCoy Tyner and his band coming out to Yoshi's. But one thing I wanted to ask you was, the idea for the hands, we were going back and forth of, okay, now, was that my idea that I wanted all this collage of hands, or was it James's idea or anything? Do you have any recollection of the evolution?
Yours.
Ah.
It was yours. And I had an idea for a different take on All Hands on Deck, where it had yours and Raymond's hands going up.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
So
right.
like that. And I still like that image, but it didn't fit with your creative design.
Ah, okay. And so when you went to the recording session, because there was some pictures of all the different hands that we ended up using as a collage on the back of the liner notes. When you went to, did you know by then that I don't think so, that you were going to do hands, or did you pull those details of hands from the photographs that you were taking?
No, you had told me you wanted those.
Huge hands.
To shoot hands.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Wow. And so some people you were able to get later on, because I know the one with Max Perkoff was at a later time, and you captured that. Oh.
You know, the most amazing one in that image is the one of Donald holding his duochromatic harmonica.
Bass harmonica.
And I just looked those up. A used chromatica like that is $800 now.
Wow. Wow.
And those things are precious.
Yeah.
And for him to be able to play all the instruments he could play was amazing.
Indeed. Indeed. So you were at the recording studio. I think Raymond had a question specifically about at the recording studio.
Yeah, I was curious about your process. You know, what were you looking for at the session? Did you have an idea when you went in what you were going for, what you were trying to catch?
No, I've never been a maker of images. I've been somebody that's recorded what I've seen, and if something intrigues me, I'll photograph. But I don't like to have an agenda at all. So I knew it was about your recording, so it was just recording the whole feeling of the group and the people that were there. And
It really captured it. I mean, the different inside our liner notes there, we chose some of the recordings and captioned it with words that, you know, Raymond and Donald Duck Bailey, who you were just referring to, were sitting at one point squatted down and eating, because we definitely provided food, unlike the green room earlier today on Zoom. But and we said, you know, Raymond and Duck noshing. And then at one point, Brenda Boykin and myself were talking, and I was laughing and she was putting her arm out, and, you know, we Brenda and Ziggy schmoozing. So it was just this way that, you know, we were nervous. It was our first time in the studio. And yet you captured a real feel of a family that formed. And I really want to appreciate you for catching those moments. It was very special.
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And the hands were superb. You know, it's just like, oh my God, you know, it just brings it all back to mind, you know, the experience. You know,
Definitely.
it was truly all hands on deck.
It makes me want to get back in the studio and have you come out and shoot again and all that. Or we'll do it on the East Coast, or we'll do it somewhere else. Who knows?
Be done
So-
anywhere.
Do you want to say anything about your, you know, just give us a little short update on what you're up to right now?
Main thing I'm up to now is walking around. This is my camera.
Oh.
I really don't have a different camera anymore. Can't afford it. And I love the iPhone.
Right?
So, and the iPhone, the cameras are so good.
Wow.
You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
the only thing, if I went into a studio, I would have low light capabilities. So I'd have to rent something.
Mm.
But and then the main thing I do is I like to build and repair bicycles.
Oh, wow.
So I'm working on rehabbing old 50 and 60-year-old 3-speeds now.
Very cool. Oh my gosh.
And
I
it's
should
fun to
put you
ride
into-
them around.
Yeah. My sister likes that period of bicycles too. So that's fun. Oh, cool. Well, we're going to show a little video from back in the day. And actually there's clips, and we'll catch some of these different players. And there's a moment where we'll see an earlier version of you. So thank you so much, James, for joining us, and stay
Stick
tuned.
around.
Stick around.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
What's up, blood?
we're here to celebrate poetry. Tonight, we experience the spoken word movement, defined by some as cutting-edge urban poetry and by others as jazz poetry. Spoken word is the emerging poetry scene, constructive and spiritual. Raymond Turner defines jazz poetry as the words, music, and emotions which live within the crevices of storytelling, song, and theater. The new poetry is alive in New York, Atlanta, Boston, Los Angeles, and here in Berkeley. The Berkeley Public Library is pleased to welcome Raymond Turner and Upsurge.
Circular breathing, helium bending sound round the stratosphere. Beyond the human ear, pitches wolves here. Ow! Shattering glass like shadow. Urgent. Voicing pains of blues people. Blues people muted like monk notes on seaweed. 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 Blues people muted like monk notes on urgent. Walk men made by the billions. Run men made to hurry. David Murray in a hurry. So much music, truth, so little time to play. Tell this planet. David Murray in a hurry. Urgent. Walk men made by the billions, run men made to hurry. David Murray in a hurry, so it's music, truth, so little time to play. Tell this planet. David Murray. Urgent. Got a gig on Saturn with Sun Ra someday. But now's the time for Earth music. Urgent. Of our mother, Earth, circle of colors, unbroken. Babatunde on percussion, drums. Rocksteady Freddie Williams on the bass.
Okay, Freddie Williams.
Dancing Richard Howell on tenor saxophone. The Zigsters of Lowenberg, Ziggy Lowenberg, spoken word.
And the fabulous Raymond Nat Turner. Thank you, Upsurge.
Thank you so much for your kind attention and generous applause. Thank you. Sally! How you doing, Sally?
I just want to say I really, really love it. We want to be.
Well, now you know what.
No, I know. Made some really big changes. Strong, solid. Oh, you are beautiful. recording.
Yeah.
Recording you.
Yeah.
All right.
Get out here.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of play.
Copy of Facebook.
Thank you. It's really great when you get
All the way from Midtown Manhattan, New York City, Alvin Lowenberg, Ziggy's dad. The rhythms remain.
The rhythms remain.
The rhythms remained and bodies rechained to chemicals, easing Jim Crow pain. In B-flat blues, as in B-flat on your ass blues. No spin. No rent blues. Wind howling, stomach growling blues. Still, whisper through brushes, moan.
Tender tiger, stalking creme de la creme, salivating for an opening, imagining yourself renowned with gilded crown, counting your wealth with brush strokes, coined images flipping through your fresh, dark eyes, painting quizzical manifestos on concrete and brick, notating culture, whizzing by as yellow cabs on wet New York streets go splat. Turned milk-fed calf. They sucked you. Juice of veal sliding down the sides of their mouths, sliding Soho down the sides of their mouths. They sucked you, wiping their mouths on fine linen and canvases collected. J.M. Basquiat, Jean-Michel Basquiat, Jean-Michel Basquiat, J.M. Jean-Michel Basquiat, Basquiat, J.M.
And so we're so pleased to have you here for this performance and celebration, anniversary celebration. So you should know that there is memorabilia on the walls and in the alcove. There will be at the end of the performance some champagne and cake, and those of you who can stay for that, you are invited to stay. And there will only be a short break in between the sets, and you're going to hear, if you have heard them before, and if you have their CD, you'll be hearing some stuff from the CD, but you'll also be hearing some of the new stuff that they intend to include in their new project. So, again, it should be a very interesting afternoon, and I hope that you enjoy them as much as I have enjoyed working for them and with them. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together, show your love and appreciation for Upsurge in the form of Raymond McKenna and Piggy Love.
And since this is Sunday, and my mom's here from LA, she's 81 years old today, and every day. And my sister from here from LA. Mom, stand up, Mom, if you can. Actually, it started with Richard's email. Tunde is a musical warrior. He can play through bad PA systems. He can play through unresponsive crowds. He can play through. So that's how it started. So, musical warrior. Blam, 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 blam. Rough. Trash. Blam, blam. A million people can march to it.
Swinging samurai.
Around Upsurgeville, we like to say, where would we be without Babatunde Lee? Ron Belcher at the base. Bebop had Thelonious Monk and Bud Powell. Upsurge is blessed to have Richard Howe. Richard Howe. And sitting in with us, wonderful trumpeter and flugelhornist, as well as community arts activist, Mr. Khalil Shaheed.
Well, wow, it's emotional to see that coverage actually over the years. And in particular, one thing I just had a funny memory of Raymond introduced my dad at the Berkeley Community Media gig, and his my takeaway, my memory from that whole gig was my father coming up to me after the gig and saying, and you have to know he was in the garment industry, and he said, "Now, how come you didn't pin your bra strap to your inside of the sleeveless dress?" you need to add weights to the bottom of your dress so that it'll pull down and not show the bottom of your slip. That is my takeaway from my father coming to our performance. But anyway, he was a great supporter of ours over the years, as is my mom and my sister. But from that particular period, I remember my dad. And one thing is that particular, those clips, some of them where you saw the cutting into another previous performance done by another dear friend of ours, Eric Berg, and he's a video editor, Ethos Editorial. So somebody commented on those sharp little edits where he did it right on the word. So I just wanted to give Eric a little thumbs up on that.
Yeah, well, what I'd like to do is just contextualize that as the popular word that is thrown about today. Firstly, the group that appeared at the Berkeley Public Library in '96, that was the first time that group had worked together. That was essentially Babatunde Lee's group. And I met Babatunde Lee at a Mumia Abu Jamal event in Oakland. It was a march, I think it was, and on Broadway in Oakland, and the Oakland Police Department was firing some kind of projectile. In any case, Babatunde and I were on the ground by a storefront, covering up. And we met that way and we talked and exchanged numbers, and I was doing, and he told me what he was doing. And then that's how we became connected. And, when that gig came up, then that became upsurge for that period of time. And through the course of that, we were blessed to make the acquaintance of one Richard Howell. And, I can't say enough about how transformative that acquaintance was and has been. That was our first gig with him. And I'd seen Richard from afar, and he was always mysterious to me. He was always the coolest guy this side of Dexter Gordon in press. And so I always wanted to get to know him, to meet him, and then lo and behold, we started working together. And it was just, we did a episode earlier on mentors and teachers. He could have fit in either of those episodes. For me, he was on the bandstand always. I always felt that I learned so much from being around him. I would go into gigs, and as far as the politics went, I'm going to do that, period, because that's my job. That's why I'm on the planet. But in terms of confidence, artistically, it wasn't there. It was lacking. And Richard buttressed that. He helped build me up in that way. When we go on stage, sometimes there'd be different things that would come up, and I would just be tense, and Richard would say, "Man, do your thing. Just do your thing, man." And it was just such a Jedi, such a presence, such a powerful spiritual force and teacher and mentor. And I can't say enough about that aspect of him. And then when I went to New York, from being on the bandstand, like Eddie Gale, the late trumpeter Eddie Gale, talked about the university of the bandstand. And that's the way I felt being up there with Richard for years. And it was just, I learned so much and grew so much and became, quite a bit more confident in the artistic aspect of what I was doing. And those gigs that you saw, like the Berkeley Community Media, one feature of them is that we were these, what
trying
in
to
tribe
get it.
language, we call grinners, you know, and we were just green trying to get a recording some kind of way. We had been we were trying everything in the world to get a CD, and we actually met with Babatunde Lee. We were meeting with him, and we had several meetings with him. And one thing that I love about Ziggy, you know, she doesn't say things, she doesn't agree with me just to agree with me to get along. And we collectively, between the two of us, we didn't feel that that was going to work for us. And so we just signed off on that. And then Richard was there, and we didn't know he was a producer. You know, he was under. And we started meeting with him, and we said, yeah, let's go forward with this. And, you know, we were reading all these books and everything, and we thought that would give us all the insight we needed. And we were so green and, you know, inexperienced, but Richard led us through that process. And I'd like to bring the man himself on. He is in the house. He is live and in person.
Hello, Richard.
Hey, folks, how are you? Nobody knows what a producer does. Everybody knows what a director does, but nobody knows what a producer does.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that used to be your line, and we got it. We totally. And at the time, what was happening is people were really starting to self-produce. This is one of the things, and we thought, you know, we didn't know enough for that, but still we thought, well, we don't really know what to expect from a producer. So it was just brilliant that you stepped forward and you said, you know, I've done some producing. I could do this.
In his typical understated fashion.
Oh my God, always understated, Richard. And my God, it was a world. And to watch you, you have a whole nother level and depth to your creativity that comes forward in the studio as well. I mean, when the audiences that we had gigs with always adored your work, and but seeing you in the studio and having you mentor us that way and just hold us and really go for everything. I mean, and we didn't even get to talking about the writing and the composition anyway, but it was our pencil that you did write some of those things with.
I did. I wrote a chart with your pencil, and you guys took credit with it. I want to. It was indeed a collaboration. It was your pencil. Before we move any further, I would like to just acknowledge your talent and your graciousness. I really enjoy and love the fact that you acknowledge everyone as a part of your development and your growth. And I think that's a wonderful thing to do. Most people don't do things. They just like kind of let things slide. And you two always acknowledge folks who have helped you on the way and you know, help, as I said, help in your development. And I like to put that out there and acknowledge that. I think that's very, very cool. You always do that. Thank you.
Yeah. It was just a blessing, man, you know. And you know, one of the things talking about the production of those CDs, nobody knows what a producer does. I want to give a little bit of insight on the meetings that we would have over here at the table. You know, people talk about being invited to the table. Well, we would have dinner. We'd start dinner in the early evening, and then we'd have dessert, and then we would get to work. And just between the three of us, it was an amazing chemistry and synergy that was at work all the time, because, you know, we had our ideas. Ziggy had her independent ideas. I had my independent ideas. And then you took them and synthesized them. You know, whatever they were, you never said, oh, that won't work, that doesn't. You were saying, okay, bring it. And then you would tease it out and say, oh, okay, we can do this. And then when we started, man, the thing we loved was personnel. We started talking about, oh my God, we could bring Brenda Boykin, we could bring this person to play accordion, this person to play bataz or whatever, and the project would grow and grow. But it was just the way the three of us worked together, it was just magical to me, and that was, the pre-production end of it.
Yeah, what from our early years in terms of working with Tunde and you and first Freddie and then Ron, what was, do you have any particular reminiscences or impressions now thinking back on that period?
It was wonderful to see us all working together. And that made me feel really, really good and brought a tear to my eye just to see us all, working together, and we all agreed with be working together, which was a very nice thing to see. No, I mean, I kind of move forward. I keep going. I just try to keep going. I'm always trying to move forward. So
exactly.
I did want to mention something that you mentioned about being in the recording studio. That particular project, after having that conversation with you to enlist me to do that, this was your project, and I made sure that you understood that was your project. And I grabbed everything that you had put out, and I did have your pencil, and I started writing things down. And it's folks who have seen me in the past who work with me, they know that I love to just ad lib stuff. And when it came to your project, it was important for me to have a guide and to not waste any time. I understand it was a budget, and I wanted to work with it, and I was trying to show you that we could work within that budget. And so it was very important for me to actually put on that producer hat, sit down, write some stuff, have my notes, and get ready and guide you through the process. And it was a treat and an honor for me to be able to do that.
Yeah,
you guys are amazing.
Well, but one of the things I love is the way you bring out the best in the artist, and I thought I saw Ziggy just really shine in the studio with her. She was more akin to the studio. I'm more akin, I think, to being out live, and because I get in the studio, I get, too, whatever, but you were very instrumental, no pun intended, in helping trying to smooth that out.
I remember one of the funny things was we laid down the tracks with the rhythm section, and we did the vocals, we did our pieces, and we were like, okay, we did it. We did it. And then they all split, and we took care of everybody. And it may have been another day that we came in, but you said to us, okay, now you guys get to work. And we
you said, are you ready to work now?
Are you ready to work? Okay.
We were like, huh?
And we didn't realize those were considered scratch vocals.
Yeah,
that was just the guide track.
Yeah, Richard said, we had all this great food. We had these, beautiful spread. And Donald Duck Bailey, who was Blue Note, he commented, he said, your spread is like Blue Note spread. All the food we had for people. We had gotten food in Berkeley's Gourmet Ghetto for everyone, and it was just so camaraderie, just everybody's gathered together, and we're having fun. Ducks there, the vocalist Brenda Boykin, Pasha Howell, and
your daughter Pasha.
And so we're just having a ball, and then we're just like, we did it. And Richard's, you guys ready to work now? And that's when the work began, and that's when we knew we were in another arena. We were playing with the big boys now. We were kind of like, what, Richard, did you have anything specific about the session that jumped out at you or anything? Because if not, I would like to bring somebody else on that might have a little bit of insight on it.
What I liked about the recording session, I think it was a nice choice to go to Mr. Toad, and it was really, there was a nice vibe, and it was nice to take it also out when we started to mix and mix with Daniel Ryman. I thought that was a very, that was a nice, cool idea to do that. And it was interesting to have the emergency gig when we were doing the.
Yeah.
That's inside. You got to talk about the emergency gig, but
well, let me say something, Richard. I feel really vindicated in our choice of you, because I was hopeless in some way around ever getting the project out. And then I remember the power went out there, and I was wondering if we lost everything. And, with the person who's producing, would they abandon what we're doing if something else came along, another project or whatever, and during that course of that time, your best friend had died, I remember. And also your mother-in-law was checking out. And so during the course of that, you never abandoned ship. You stayed with us. You went, took a little break to go, and I think it was Peter, is your friend's was named Peter. Yeah. And so you took a little break, took the car and went over there, and then came back, and it was just incredible. You just stayed with us and helped us, help guide that project. If I could, I'd like to bring one of your co-conspirators into the mix, who's
Daniel.
there. That would be Dr. Ryman, Daniel Ryman, who, I have recollection of you two, the two of us had reached our limit and we're sleeping on the floor, sleeping bags. You guys are up with headbands, samurais, just grinding through the night. And it was just amazing. And for those of you who don't know, Daniel Ryman, he's a producer, engineer, audio mixer, mastering engineer, and musician. And for me, by way of introduction, I walked in his office and I saw a letter from a gentleman by the name of Quincy Jones, and it was about The Color Purple, and that was the end of the story, so that he needs no more introduction than that. So Dr. Ryman, join us.
Thank you so much, Raymond. Can I be heard?
Yes, you can.
All right, good. Just checking this out. So many memories around that session, some tales to tell indeed, including the emergency session. Richard and I had worked together on one, if not a couple, projects by then. We had met a few years before on a different project at I believe Hyde Street, and we had mutual friends in the band. And we kind of hit it off in there, especially when we got into mixing, because we had a lot of the same tastes and a lot of the same calls on stuff. And we realized that given a motorized console, we were both very lethal. And it just so happens that the place where we had to mix up there was in northern Ukiah, Redwood Valley, belonged to a gentleman by the name of Spencer Brewer, and it was called Laughing Coyote. And I had spec'd and built the facility myself 2 years earlier in '94. We tore down 2,000 square feet of ranch house and made it into 4 rooms of studio with a real control room and triple thick walls and 7-foot glass. And then 2 years later, we were lucky enough to move an 8048 Neve in there, basically a slightly newer model than what was in Hyde. And I did that installation as well. And it was right after that when we were having this thing, I was testing it with my band and artists, and Richard approached me and I said, hey, I got the spot so we can get in the city. I got this spot up here, and basically open use on it to a degree because it was still being shaken down. We had 9 patch bays, 210 connections each, to give you an idea. So Richard brought up, you know, all of the tracks of which you had done and done well, and we had this smorgasbord, how shall we say, of different types of art and food that we could arrange in so many different fashions, depending on how it was to be presented. But Richard had a clear and decisive deal about what he wanted and how he wanted, and we played around a lot with the automation, trying to bring out the right words in the right places and really catch the drift of what you were saying and match the energies between you two, and really, you know, really try and do that stuff once again. Hey, it's the real deal. We're in the studio now. And we did a couple serious marathons in there that perhaps to this day, I don't know, Richard, but I think if I look back, perhaps to this day, you and I may still hold the record for marathons. I do believe a 52-hour at one spot. And I'm talking, I don't think Mr. Howell drinks coffee. I know I do. I know I drank plenty of it. I have vague memories of being.
Yeah, the youngsters can't hang. The youngsters can't hang with this area.
All I vaguely remember is that they let us off after 52 hours and said, okay, you guys get about a 4-hour nap and we'll come and get you, because we were working on block time. This is the old school, you know, we rented it out. We had 5 days to get it done, no matter how it fell down. So of course we're just working. Yeah. And so I remember very hazily being led down some stairs from where my bunk was, not really knowing where I was going or what I was doing really, until I sort of got in the control room where Richard was in approximately the same condition, and we looked.
And then it became automatic.
Yeah, kind of gathered ourselves, and within about 10 minutes, we were right about where we left off at. And then we pulled 54 hours straight on that one. And I do believe I did have to pull over somewhere between Ukiah and Lake Sonoma and take a small nap on my drive home later after that session. But definitely, it was a marathon, and a joyous marathon at that, because we were very happy with the results. Mm-hmm. And happy with your feedback, and the place functioned as it should. We probably both slept for a week after. Oh, Richard doesn't sleep. I on occasion sleep.
I remember, you know, we were just down and we were sleeping, and then I would get up, you know, to, you know, take a nature call, and I'd look in there, I see you guys, man, you know, it's dark in here, and you guys are with these headbands, man, and I'm like, man, these dudes are nuts. And one thing, you know, that I have to say, you know, just like, you know, this is called an intimate evening with the town crier, and one of the things is it's really evolved, and for me, the truth is very important. You know, one of the things that I think it was the last episode, I had a recollection of graduating David Ewell from Upsurge. He was our very first bassist as a 16-year-old, and I thought I had done this so magnanimously, you know, but the truth of the matter is he told me that it really hurt his feelings that I had kind of pushed him out for an underclassman bass at Berkeley High. And so that was really good for me to see that that wasn't my intent to hurt him, but I actually did. And so it was good for me to come to understand that. But one of the things I wanted to allude to from that session, you know, Ziggy and I, we were, you know, and particularly me, I had to own it. You know, we were reading all these books about mastering and all this stuff. And then so Richard had hooked into Dr. Ryman. And so we were hearing about all these, you know, you find masters that you like. And we heard Paul Stubblebine and somebody else we were checking. And so we were, you know, we had this game plan. We were gonna, do the mixing with Dr. Ryman there, and then we were gonna take it somewhere to master. And so Richard had a walk with us.
He said, come outside, we need to go for a walk. We had a couple of those walks during the journey of both CDs.
Yeah,
but-
it was wild, and so then we we came to understand we didn't know as much from our little books as we thought.
We took one seminar from who was that, Tim Sweeney. We had this book on recording, and we just thought, okay, we're gonna go by the book, right?
Go by the
Good book. It's a good book.
Good book.
Oh my God! So
but
we
it was
learned a lot.
But to Richard's credit, he really stood his ground, but did it in such a way that it didn't blow up the session. It didn't blow up the relationship and all that. It was really, he took us to school, but did it in such a way, and that our tuition was paid, and we were able to come back and stay in the house. After. Yeah.
Actually, we have a little clip from a little bit later in our evolution, but we wanted to show you Richard. It was at KPFA Studios, and Richard talks a little bit about producing. So stay tuned.
When Congresswoman Barbara Lee was being threatened, her life was being threatened, and there was all kinds of hoopla over her voting her conscience. And, that's just a basic human right. And so we came out at a rally in support of her in Oakland at Frank Ogawa Plaza. And then just recently we opened the April 5th rally, the big April 5th rally during the anti-war upsurge, if you will.
Well, I think it's important to play that part and play that role and go out in the community and represent with the music.
I think that artists have a means of reaching people that oftentimes politicians and preachers don't have.
Tell us what goes into
producing,
linking this spoken word and the music together, and your in the production and in the writing, and do you find that you are spontaneous players and you just click, or?
That's a tricky question to answer, because there are moments of spontaneity, but there is a plan. There is a plan of putting a group of people together who actually know how to work together, even if they haven't had an opportunity to work together, if that makes sense. It's like, for me as a producer, it's like harnessing and capturing spirits and putting them all in a room and making sure that those spirits are working together. And we were just very fortunate to have the musicians that we have. I mean, Daryl, David, Ron Belcher, Glenn Pearson, and these folks came in and they worked extremely hard and they gelled, and like I said, it was a collective spirit, and that was the easy part. that was the easy part.
We have a special young guest here who you'll be hearing from before the program is over. He's 3 years old, and he's on our forthcoming CD. He's doing some spoken word and he's been doing some percussion.
I'm not 3, I'm 4.
He's 4. Correction there. He was 3 when we did the recording, so he is now 4. Mr. L.A. Howe.
How come you weren't on top of it? As long as there's greed, there can be no peace. Imperialist bloodshed simply must cease.
This one is not going to be limited.
Take 2, the streets in protest in the USA. Take 2, the streets in protest in the UK.
All over. Yeah, get over there.
Take 2, the streets in protest in the USA.
So, is it possible to patch in a third?
Whoa, that was amazing because
beautiful.
There was a young cat on there. Oh, he was 3. No, he was 4 at that time, and 4. And we think we have him on now with Mr. L.A. Howe. Would you unmute yourself?
That was 4. That was 4. I remember 4. That's wild. Wow.
Yeah. I understand he's working with a certain gentleman by the name of Ravi Coltrane these days. We're so proud of you, man. You know, so proud of you. Yeah. And you know, I am going to take credit. We got that first set of drums at Mr. Mops.
Oh, Mr.
And that was
Mops
in Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
And that, believe it or not, that was a $300 drum set, kit. So we love you and pass it on.
So proud of you. Yes.
Thank you. I was just having a conversation. Go
before
ahead.
you go, no, go ahead. I don't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to share this with Raymond and Ziggy, and I remember saying at the time, I said, you don't get young kids things that make noise.
Every morning.
Papa,
you
let's
told
practice.
us.
Good thing I didn't make any noise, right? Good thing it was all music, right?
Absolutely.
I was just having a conversation with a good friend of mine about working with folks. We were working with some folks. We were talking about working with folks that came from strong communities and those that didn't, and the differences in the music and the way they communicate and just their life in general. And to see this type of stuff, it was just very powerful because I'm certainly a product of my community, and all of y'all, were super important in pushing me to get to where I am. I'm just sitting there in the studio, just soaking all of that in. That was just crazy to see that, because things pop up randomly, just that I saw in these videos. Even though there was a concert before, I think it was I saw Maya in the crowd,
in the front seat, in the front row.
I probably was there. The way Tunde sets up his kit, the way. The shots of Raymond and everybody greeting each other after and that type of stuff, and all the love, just like that was so important, because I'm sitting 22 talking to a friend of mine about what does it mean to come from a community, and I can say it means that's what it means to be able to know yourself, to be able to communicate, to be able to to show love in that way, you know. So that was powerful to see that just now, all this footage. That was very powerful.
Okay, I'm done.
I didn't know I was that snappy though, damn. I don't remember all that. I got that on video. I can't even deny that now.
I love it, man. You know, it's just like, man, oh man, I just the spirit, man. The Papa or Billy Higgins drums still beating down from the sun like his smile on the one. I remember when you were in the studio on that, the headphones were almost as big as you, man. And you were on a stool, and there wasn't a dry eye in the studio. That's the bottom line. That's my recollection. You know, I mean, you and your sister Maya came as Mr. B, Billy Eckstine said about Sarah Vaughan. You guys came equipped, man. You guys killed it.
We've been watching all y'all for the, you know.
Yeah, you guys killed it.
We had to come with it.
Yeah, you guys were, you know, very special, man. You know, and even we did the KCSM Jazz on the Hill. You guys were on that, and you guys were on the flatbed truck in April against the invasion of Iraq.
Oh yeah,
you know?
April 2003.
Yeah.
Yes,
so,
that's right.
Man, you guys were really something, man. I just so much appreciate, you know, just your youthful exuberance that continues to this day. But the thing we could not have predicted is this little guy is now standing at 6 feet 7 inches tall. Where did that come from, man? You know, that wasn't in the script.
Trying
Lots
to read
of groceries.
I said my
Has it go through retirement?
what?
Lots of groceries.
That
There's
probably.
Papa.
I was
There's
gonna say
Papa.
setting up my symbols like Tunde. I had to reach them, you know.
That's right. That's
Great
right.
answer, man.
Oh my God. But I remember talking to Richard over the years in that early period about not making the kids, you know, do the music, but them being drawn to it and doing it and being part of, I mean, you could see that even when he, you know, Richard was warming up during that period at the studio and you're on the piano and it's like, just do your thing. That was that philosophy. And it wasn't you have to practice your scales now. And, you know, that kind of,
No,
Richard, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's about bringing them around the right people. You know, there's Daniel sitting there. I took him to Daniel's house, and Daniel, you know, I would keep my mouth shut, and Daniel would speak to him. I just sit there and listen, you know, and sometimes I keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. I wouldn't have dived into any of the rock things if it wasn't for Daniel, man.
That's, you know,
I do remember times there were things I could say that Dad couldn't.
To the house. Yes, absolutely.
That's funny.
Things that I couldn't.
Things that I could bring to him that
it's about exposure.
were outside of the relationship, that were technical and that were larger and production minded, and he's a sponge.
Right.
Yeah, you know, and then just
didn't take long.
Exposing. You know, it's not about, you know, being the task, but putting it in front of them, and then let them grab it. Because if you, it's like this is parenting. If you were to tell your children to do something, they're just not going to do it. But if you show it and it connects with them, then you can just kick back and watch it all soak in. You know, it's like Elliot could sing John Coltrane. He could sing because it was just sitting there in front of him all the time. I was playing Coltrane at night. Coltrane to take you to bed. You know, I'm playing John Coltrane as a night song. You know, this is what you go to bed with. That type of stuff. And then, you know, going to Yoshi's in the evening. You go to Yoshi's and just expose and say nothing. Just like, this is it. Taking them to see Yusa Undua, Sanders Cater, all those types of things. Just taking them to be, you know, to just exposing kids. You know, he was hanging out at OPC at one time, at Upsurge. You know, I mean, OPC, Oaktown. You know, just being in the mix.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hey,
yeah,
LA.
Oaktown, but just being in the mix. And a lot of times, as I said, it's like not for me to say. It's just expose. Just keep my mouth shut. Let them be around it. Because then he'll pick up. Then they pick around. Yeah, I mean, no, because I remember one time. We had a little K, and you would say, "How come you didn't push me to practice? I could have been so much better." But you were. So I said, like, that wasn't for me to do, because if I pushed you, you would have said, "No, I don't want to do this."
Right.
I don't want to do this.
Right.
You know. I mean, you've heard about other young prodigies that were being pushed and said, "Hey, man, you got to do this and all that." I was like, "Nah, I exposed you to the right people. Art Cool, you know, Khalil, just like that. That's what it's about. Just sticking you right there. You know, Larry Van picked him up, stuck him on his lap, and he's playing groove with Larry Van. And it takes a village.
Right.
And it was the village that did it. You know, and so that's what that's about. And we're all proud of you. So, you know.
Thank you.
It's about the community.
You know, one of the interesting things that Richard and I both share in common. Can you hear me, Richard?
I hear you, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Loud and clear. You're an audio guy.
You know, we both came. We've never had any problem with that, right? You know, we both came from backgrounds, although different but similar in some ways. I came from a classical discipline where I was made to get up before school at the age of 5 and 6 and play piano for an hour every day until I was, I don't know, 8 or 10 or old enough to bargain with, "Hey, if I pass this class, will you let me go?" Because they were telling me, you know, the Beatles weren't music, modern music wasn't music. I was under strict classical Nazi thing, and it really, to this day, has still affected I can't sit down at a grand piano the way I used to, which is probably why I do the crazy electric guitar stuff on keyboards and synths that I am more attracted to, since piano was by Richard's situation. He had a home situation where everybody played. But my understanding was that it wasn't always what everybody wanted to play or when they wanted to play it. And Richard didn't want to impress that. So both of us had that idea in terms of application to LA. LA, you must have just felt a lot like you were being thrown into different pools at times with different temperatures and different lifeguards.
I loved every moment of that.
Well, I'll tell you, to your credit, you know, I don't know how many people here I know that on the screen here are present, but you know, in 2012, you were how old?
Math, what's math? 14.
14. Thank you. Your math has got to be better. So at
the ripe old age of 14.
At the ripe old or tender age of 14, he plays his first rock and roll show with me on electronic drums, full PA. For himself, 6 foot tall on either side, with his father and Baron Chase and myself. Very little rehearsal. We had we rehearsed in sections, and we were playing original format. That stuff's on YouTube. You'd have think he'd been on it since the very beginning. As a matter of fact, he even sang on tunes that we had not practiced vocals on. He came in and harmonized with me, pulled my ass out of a few places with some good harmony, actually. So at 14, and made nothing of it. And, you know, wow, this was great. Far out.
I think there's a strong argument that can be made for genetics, you know. I think, you know, because on our first recording session, your older sister Pasha Howell was on there and kicked butt with a renowned Bay Area vocalist Brenda Boykin. The two of them just killed, you know.
They were on it. They were totally on it. Yeah.
One thing I'd like to do, we have the artist whose cover art we use for both of our CDs. That would be Joe Sam, who also did at least 2 for Bobby McFerrin, Medicine Music, I believe. If he's on, could he, you know, show his face or show some color?
Oh wow, there's the cover.
Yeah, that's
Thank you, Daniel. All hands on deck. That's
all right, I have a story, you know.
That's the Miles art.
Yeah, we met Mr. Joe Sam over at Yoshi's, and he said, we were talking in the lobby. I said, we have a CD that's coming out and we need some cover art. And he said, well, if you're serious, come over to my studio on Tuesday. So we come over. I think it was actually a weekend. He said, come over. And so we went over. And so we get into his studio. He has all this work up, this huge work. And then he has all these binders with slides in them. And so he said, what's the title of your CD? And we said, All Hands on Deck. And so he goes out and leaves us in the studio for, about an hour, half hour or something. Then he comes back and I'm getting a headache from all this media, looking at all this stuff. So he comes in and he goes, that's all hands on deck. That's all hands on deck. That's all hands on deck. And so finally we settled on one of his paintings that was called the one that Dr. Ryman just flashed. It was called Jazzman Miles. And so that's the piece of work that
right. It was actually an assemblage. He does a lot of work where he adds elements to it on top. Like the keys, I think were maybe, I don't know if they were real pieces of keys on there for piano. So, but Joe Sam, he was here earlier with us and he's not on the call at the moment. So we have another piece of business to do.
We got another piece of business. The thing is that I'm in the business, my mom is so much present in all of this because the James Radke photos, Deborah St. John photos, Kamal Amin-Ra's photos, all that comes, my mom had as an organizer and activist, she had a view that if you don't have a photographer there, it didn't happen. If you don't have photos, it didn't happen. And so, just instinctively, whenever we did a gig, I was always thinking, okay, so who's going to do the photography? Who's going to do the videography? I was always into that. And so the other thing I learned from my mom is about, she organized, she created a number of organizations. One I recall was Concerned Black Women down in Los Angeles, and they had an event each year, and they would always give people awards. Like if you stuffed envelopes, you'd get an award. So and when she gave awards, it would be like 12 or 6 to 12 people, every year, and you didn't get yours that year, you would get it next year or the subsequent years. And when in July, we gave the award to Angela Wellman, the founder of the Oakland Public Conservatory of Music. And immediately when after giving it to her, I thought also, someone else came to mind as well. And that is Richard Howell, Richard Howell. I'm in the business of trying to create a new relationship with African Americans in particular, and flowers, giving them their flowers while they are still able to experience them, olfactorily speaking and visually speaking. And so Richard Howell.
So Upsurge NYC presents the 2021 Kathy M. Green Community Building Award to Richard Howell, a musical warrior bringing bridge music, connecting peoples.
Thank you.
Yay, Richard.
I'm honored. I'm extremely honored. Raymond and I were talking earlier about coining phrases. Did I coin that phrase too, musical warrior?
You probably did.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think I did.
I think you did.
Yeah.
I think that was about Babatunde.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I recall. But anyway, I'm honored. I'm absolutely honored. I'm thrilled, and it's always a pleasure to work with you, and I hope we work on the next album.
Indeed.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you. What an honor. What absolute. I treasure this. I would treasure it.
Yeah, so deserving, man, super deserving. And let me just say something. You know, I've said this before, and you know, I really meant it. Like if Quincy, you know, speaking of Quincy, Dr. Ryman, I brought that name into the conversation. If he called and said, man, I see what you're trying to do, you know, come down. And I'm going to ask them, say, okay, so what is Richard doing in this? You know, that's going to be my question. So that's just the way it would go, you know.
Well, I would allow Quincy to co-produce.
Right on.
I'm not sure I'm going to lend him my pencil.
Yeah, I would do that, and I would.
Yeah, right.
I would talk to Daniel about that, and maybe
He'd be okay with that, you know.
Let him co-produce.
Yeah.
He'd be perfectly okay with that.
You think he'd be all right?
Yeah,
He might
he'd
be
keep
all right,
back
wouldn't
and
he?
watch and go, yeah, just the way I thought.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. I had that in mind. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. We so much appreciate your time and your good spirits, and much love to all of you.
We must put an end to the culture of war. Cut back on the oil that it kills folks for.
As long as there's greed, there can be no peace. Imperialist bloodshed simply must cease.
Take to the streets and protest in the USA. Take to the streets and protest in the UK. Take to the streets and protest in the USA. Take to the streets and protest in the UK.
Our war is here against hunger and greed and racist bloodshed on which fascists feed.
Into battle for homes and health. Soften up enemies to liberate our wealth.
Take to the streets and protest in the USA.
In the USA.
Take to the streets and protest in the UK.
In the UK.
Take to the streets and protest in the USA.
In the US.
Take to the streets and protest in the UK.
In the UK. Pay no attention to fork tongues and their poles. Listen to the voices that are deep in our souls.
Take to the streets and protest in the USA. Take to the streets and protest in the UK. Take to the streets and protest in the USA. Take to the streets and protest in the UK. Take to the streets and protest in the USA.
In the USA.
Take to the streets and protest in the UK.
Those who know.
Indeed, indeed.
A beautiful program. It was just such a blessing to be able to see my favorites that are here and are not here. And it was just really, really a great feeling. Just excellent job. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you,
I want to
Yancey.
mention too about Ellie. I hadn't seen, when I first saw Ellie, he was yay tall, playing djembe at Anna's Jazz Island. And then then all those years went by, and then when Richard called me in the studio, I saw Ellie. I was looking up like man. But beautiful.
That was a treat. That was a real treat to record and play. That was a lot of fun.
James. We're actually
We're running short.
We're running short in the pandemic. I have one that is need to have it sharpened.
I need to write some more.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, we were talking earlier today a little bit about how Abby's house came to be, and I remember wanting to write something on Abby, and I had something written down in a kind of a rough form, and you would kind of tease out what kind of feel do you want on this, and what are you hearing, and I remember hearing an album with Kenny Barron and Regina Carter, a duet album, and I just was like, there's something there, Richard, there's something there. And sure enough, you wrote this amazing composition, and in between the time of when we laid down the rhythm section and when we had to lay down the final vocals, I took the piece, and I remember learning this just from listening and listening and listening, that I didn't write in form. I'm a kind of poet that always writes in free verse. I didn't really deal with form. I'm not an academically trained poet. And so I write based on what comes to me in more spontaneous, really, aformatic, not in a verse, in a form. But it really just hit me that I rewrote and structured the piece, the words, and I kept a repeating line, and I made it into more of a song, and it just changed the whole feel for me. And it was quite an accomplishment. It was a real learning experience for me. And it was based on listening to what the composition that you wrote for it, and just the whole idea of being around you and being around song and your vocalizing. And anyway, so I just wanted to remember that. And I consider that was a successful piece of mine that came to fruition, but it was this whole collaborative back and forth growth process by being in recording mode. So I look forward to that. It's definitely true. I want to get there again somehow.
You two are quite the muse, actually. I was inspired to write a lot of stuff around you too. I think it was particularly interesting to make a point is when the Raiders play, we should never go into the recording studio.
Oh my God. The first recording studio, we brought sleeping bags, right? So we told you that story about sleeping.
Right.
Well, the second recording, we did chromatology. Raymond, it was, Raymond was like, he's like, I'm not going to miss my Raiders. This is the Raiders season. And he brings the portable TV into the studio, from home.
Right. Yeah.
And they're working away, and he's watching his game. Yeah. He's got his popcorn.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing, man, just to go from the experience of the first recording where, we're kind of like, okay, what are they doing? What's good? What are they changing? What are they doing? Worry about this, and and a certain element of distrust, from not having worked together on that kind of a project, and being concerned, the first project. The second project, I do. Oh, well, it's in Richard's hands here. I'm gonna.
I trust. I'm watching the Raiders.
Yeah.
I trust you, brother. I'm watching the Raiders.
Yeah.
Call me if you need me. Call me when there's a commercial.
Right.
I'm like, how many studio time? How much an hour studio time is? It's like, wait a second.
But when you have a skilled producer, man, that knows what the hell they're doing, it's like,
call me when
you need me to come back in on this vocal, I got it.
But wait till halftime.
I like to think that it was a level of trust,
It was indeed, and it was deeply appreciated. It was deeply appreciated.
That's funny. One thing
But
I
I
wanted
was
to say.
I was blown away. But,
It's the first time you saw that.
yeah, I was like, seriously? Okay. Time to walk outside.
Oh man.
Oh boy.
Oh.
And that we did. That was in San Rafael, right? Was that with Ari?
Laughing Tiger.
Laughing Tiger. We had Laughing Coyote the first go round and Laughing Tiger for chromatology, which
And
I'll
Mr. Toads.
briefly show chromatology. Some of the last images that we didn't get to really talk about, one was we were really blessed because with our first project, you know, it was an amazing effort, and we were able to get radio play on our first outing. And it's like there weren't jazz poetry folks that were getting work out there that was radio quality, really, and able to get nominated. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, the first recording, All Hands on Deck, was nominated for an Independent Music Award with the Association for Independent Music, AFIM. And we went back to Cleveland, where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is, and the Renaissance Hotel, where the event was held. And, the first thing we see when we get off the damn train was Joe Sam's public artwork
in the Cleveland station. It's huge. I go, that looks like Joe Sam's work. And it was like a welcome. And it was a good omen that we were going to have a great time.
Yeah. And so part of me was kind of like, okay, we got nominated for this thing, and, it's not a big deal. Maybe anybody who submits their work gets nominated. And we come to find out, people who had been involved with them for 15, 20 years were saying, no, we've never gotten nominated. This is a big deal, And so it was so wild, we were like, whoa. And, we didn't know if we would win, or we didn't really care. We were just there to enjoy the experience. And we met Mike, the guitarist, Mike Stern, the Miles Davis guitarist, Mike Stern. We met his wife, Leanie Stern, and then she gave us her pass, and we went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And so we had a ball back there, and Carla Cook. There were a bunch of people, and some of the independent labels were represented there. And so we were in good stead. We got airplay the first time out, and particularly our Oaktown Blues, Just Like That, was played on KCSM, the jazz station here, and other places across the country.
Yeah, there was also the opportunity to go to the Monterey Jazz Festival, and that was pretty amazing. And that was Donald Duck Bailey was being honored, and he curated a set, and he invited us as well to perform there. And it was terrific that we were able to have a product at that point. And it's really for a band to not have a CD out for as long as we had been doing our work. Yeah. We needed that calling card. It was really a way. Now I don't, I'm a little lost in the whole music business scene in terms of what do people do, and now to make a plastic thing, you don't do that anymore, but you release things like through MP3s, and you do videos and MP4s and stream and this and that. And anyway, in those days, it was definitely having a physical product that you could mail to radio stations and music directors at radio stations. And we were very lucky in the second CD to get some national airplay and on different college jazz radio stations and public radio stations and these days jazz is played on non-commercial radio for the most part. You don't find it on commercial radio. But anyway, it was just a great experience, and it really gave us, having it done at that level, Richard, kudos to you and to Daniel, and to have the beautiful graphics and artwork and photography, James and Joe Sam. And we worked with a graphic artist who always, the name trips us up because it was Sarah Glazer, and Sarah Gasser, who we work with now in the Zoom. So they're very close in name, but Sarah Glazer put the graphics together for the liner notes and the packaging. And anyway, we were very lucky. So we're blessed, and we look forward to continuing the journey in every way it takes us, and keep us posted on your creative efforts as well. We love hearing from you and about you.
And Yancy, good to see you there, man. So it's really great to see you.
Oh yeah.
And
I want to say that to Richard, I'm enjoying you. I'm watching all your YouTubes all week long, and they are great.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you very much, Yancy.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Sweet.
And Russell, go ahead.
Good. I was just going to state that people are still looking for CDs at the moment. They still want me. If you're doing radio stations have not geared up. For some reason, they don't want to gear up, and they want to accept physical copies.
Wow.
I actually hired a promoter, Lisa Reed, and she says, "Oh, upstairs."
Is she still in Vegas? In Reno? She was in Reno.
Still in Reno.
Yeah.
She's still in Reno.
Still Reed?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask whether
She's a sweetheart. She's a dear.
Yeah, she is. She's a worker.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to ask, where's the best place to grab the CDs? Chromatology and Hands on Deck.
Oh, good question, LA. Well, at this point, we have Chromatology is on Amazon, but contacting us, I guess, Raymond is upsurgejazz@gmail.com, and we'll take it from there. But you can find Chromatology on Amazon. It's just
I'm glad to get it from you.
Yeah. For sure.
Just to throw a bone in there, they are both available on download at www.wireonfire.com.
See, I've tried looking and I didn't know. Okay, all right, because
you moved the domain name, the search engines went all bonkers. But I've left those pages up because I knew there was no physical stock, and I knew people needed to have that.
Yes, All Hands on Deck is not in existence. It's out of print.
The site itself is out of date, but if they go to the pages for the CD, they will find the downloads available in Apple format at 256. And we have as many of those as they would like to get, right?
Yes, for sure. Wow, thank you, Daniel. Okay, I've got
a CD. I gave one of my students a CD, and then the next week or so when he came back, I said, "Did you listen to my CD?" He doesn't have anything to play it on.
Oh, right.
Hey, you can't get a CD player in a new car anymore. You cannot. It's not optional. You better Sirius radio up, have yourself an iPhone, or forget about it. It's really causing a lot of problems actually with a lot of people, and submitting streams. Raymond, your earlier thing, I'm about ready to give classes in that now, because after a year I feel more like a music lawyer.
Russell Dell, my old buddy.
Hey Raymond, how are you?
It's so good to see him.
Good to see you too, and you too, Ziggy.
Yes, hi Russ.
Hey,
and we've played together. We did
Sheila.
We did a Dissident Arts Festival where you accompanied me with Besame Mucho for my No Rules to Break, No Laws to Follow.
That's right. Yep, that was fun.
That was fun.
That was
and actually,
that was a terrific festival.
Yeah, that was great. That was in New York, in Brooklyn at the Frost Theater. And actually, Yancy, it was David. It was we were preparing out here. I was preparing out here to go to your Sunday nights. And we have an open section after the feature. And I wanted to do that poem, and I was staying at David and Yofi's at that one moment, and I just asked David what kind of music he thought went with it, and he said, "I think Besame, let's try that." And he played it on guitar, Besame Mucho, and we did it together, and it's about the whole immigration and the oppression of immigrants coming through from south of the border, and anyway, and Russell and I got to reprise that in New York at a festival. So that was great.
We did it
Thanks,
at the.
Russ.
I think we did it once at the Left Forum.
Oh,
too.
yes, we did
Remember?
it twice. Yes,
Yeah.
we did it at the Left Forum, and then later we did it at John Pietero's Dissident Arts
Yes,
Festival.
yes.
Yeah, cool.
Wow,
Good to
man.
see you.
Yeah.
All right,
Josie, is he open?
Is the
I
sound?
can hear you, but
Oh,
you can,
no, we can hear you
We
now.
can hear you.
how the hell can you hear me and I can't see me? I just got this computer yesterday. I don't even know. I don't know. I've been messing around for 2 hours. I can visually see you, but audio is shot. And something I just hit allows me to hear you.
Oh, good, and we can hear you
Keep
now.
hitting that.
You're on.
Whatever you hit.
4 minutes.
Listen,
Wherever you hit, keep hitting it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Joseph, I just wanted to thank you for the beautiful artwork.
Well,
both
listen,
of the,
I'm working all the time. And if you see something interesting, I can send you a set. So you all need to make a decision, you know. I'm doing one more for Andreas, a Latino brother who does beautiful stuff himself. He's in my studio. I don't know if I showed you him before.
No.
But anyway, I got issues I got to deal with.
Really? Yeah.
Are you in Hartford?
I'm in Hartford, and I got my second shot, which means I need to get back to my studios in San Francisco. It's been almost a year.
Right.
You know, I'm normally there every 2-3 months. But, I'm the second shot, I feel good, but who knows? You know what I'm saying?
So you
but I
gotta
didn't want to fly. You two will fly back east and west. I just
Oh no, we've been sheltered in Oakland. We've been in Oakland this whole time.
You guys are not in New York at all.
No, not right now,
Not
and
right
we're
now.
trying to get back
We're
home.
trying to get back, man. We're trying to
We don't know exactly.
It's great to see you, see Yancy, see Dr. Ryman, L.A. Howe, Richard Howe, William Crossman,
Love y'all.
Dale.
LA, we love you.
Yeah.
He's signing out. And we'll see you guys again April 25th
Okay.
if you want to come back and check us out. Love you guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank
Much
you.
love.
Much love.
Bye. Love you too. Bye.
We must put an end to the culture of war. Cut back on the oil that it kills folks for.
As long as there's greed, there can be no peace.